Hey folks, ASUN Commissioner Ted Gumbart joining you again for the latest edition of TED Talks about. And today I'm going to talk about a few groups that I participate in, all with different inside stories that we can tell. One is the NCAA Division I Council. That's made up of athletics directors and senior women administrators, commissioners, FARs, assistant ADs and assistant commissioners, all folks that are practitioners, ones that are actually working with the rules, the schedules, and the championships as part of their everyday business. And on that group, I represent the 11 conferences that do not sponsor football as a conference. So there's 3 subdivisions. There's the FBS, the Football Bowl subdivision, the FCS, the Football Championship subdivision, and then there's just Division I. And our group doesn't sponsor football, so we are basketball-centric. So we call ourselves the Basketball-Centric 11, and I represent that group on the council. So my vote is representative of their opinion. It's not an ASUN vote. But we have meetings weekly, and we go through it, and I represent them on the council. Another group I'm on is the Competition Oversight Committee, and that's a group that looks over all the NCAA championship parameters for all sports except for basketball, men and women, and football. Another group I'm on is the CCA, the Collegiate Commissioners Association. And we actually have multiple calls each week, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then the last thing, of course, I'm ASUN Commissioner. So we have meetings with our delegates every week, and there's a few things that we've been up to that I'll share with as well. So those are some groups that I participate on, and I'll give you a little insight into what we've been doing. One thing I'd like to share that came out of the NCAA Council, and it's something that goes over months of work we've done from when we first shut things down in March and then up till today. And what that has to do with is eligibility and student-athlete participation. You may be aware that the general NCAA rule is that student-athletes get 5 years to participate 4 times in the championship season. So you get to play in 4 seasons, but you can take 5 years to get that done. Well, when we had to cancel the spring, the NCAA Council voted that that season would not count as a season of competition. So all those baseball and lacrosse and softball student athletes that had started, maybe played a couple of games, that season does not count against their clock, nor does it count as a season of eligibility. So they're going to get 6 years to play 4, and that season doesn't count. So then we come up to this fall. Everybody's ready to play. COVID says no. So the council again acted to say the fall seasons will not count as a season of competition. And that's true even though we're going to play in the spring. So this spring, if you're a soccer player, a volleyball player, lacrosse, not lacrosse, field hockey, that's a good one, then you get a freebie. This year does not count against your clock. So you get 6 years to play 4 that count. And this year's a freebie. Well, we just did last week, we approved the same accommodation for the winter sports student athletes. That's the men and women's basketball, indoor track, wrestling, ice hockey, swimming and diving. So those have all been given a freebie this year. So whatever we're able to play in those sports, it doesn't count against your clock. So your favorite basketball player, if that male or female student athlete on your favorite team is a senior, they actually could come back if they want to, and if the school wants to give them a scholarship and everything works out. But it's a big decision, and it's going to cause some difficult decisions for some of the student athletes. But the decision was made to be as flexible as possible and allow those student athletes another opportunity to get the participation that they were expecting when they came to school. All right, and a little insight to the Competition Oversight Committee. And that group takes care of the championship provisions for all sports except men and women's basketball and football. They have their own oversight committee. So the Competition Oversight Committee has been working hard We have had meetings almost every week, it seems, since the summertime. And one of the things that's developed the most level of conversation has been, how do we deal with cross country and indoor track and outdoor track? Because that group of student athletes overlap. Not for everybody. There's a number of schools that have cross country programs. They don't run track and field. There's actually some that run track and field and cross country, but they don't run indoor. And then many of them across the country run all three of those sports. And some of the student athletes participate in all three. So for instance, if you're a distance runner, then you would have planned to participate in cross country. You would have planned to participate in indoor track, running some of the distance events, maybe the metric mile, the 1,500 meters, or the steeplechase, different things that you might run. So how do you prepare for both of those championships? Training is similar, but not the same. And so we've been listening, we've been discussing, and I think that's probably one of the things that's gotten the most variety of perspective as to how student athletes, coaches, and administrators look at the opportunity to compete. So I think what won the day in the end is that this year's a free. So if you want to choose one or the other, you're going to concentrate on cross country. It's hard to say sometimes. Or maybe just for me. Or you're going to concentrate on indoor track. That's okay. And you'll get a freebie and come back and concentrate on the other one next year if that's your choice. So again, I think the flexibility and giving student athletes the most choices is where we ended up. So the goal now is to have an indoor track championship, and then have a cross country championship, and then have an outdoor track and field championship. But that's been an interesting one. Well, we mentioned the CCA, the Collegiate Commissioners Association. That's all 32 commissioners of the core conferences that are members of Division I. Well, the 32 have had multiple calls each week for months, and we are being very open and very honest about the challenges that we face, trying to get safe and equitable competition back on the field. We want to be sure that the universities are safe. We don't want to compromise the student body at large. We also want to be sure we treat our student athletes fairly and give them the medical support and all that they need to be prepared to compete. So we've been sharing a lot of plans. We also meet weekly, not just with each other, but with the NCAA leadership. And that group helps guide us, whether it's medical advice or analyzing the number of weeks that we have to do a fall and spring championship. And I must say that this group of 32, they've been always a strong group on compromise and collaboration to find solutions. And this year it's been very valuable that we are good colleagues and we do communicate. And we've also broken it down into other groups. There's a CCA 22. Those are the conferences that don't play bowl level football. So they have some different challenges. And we meet as a group of 22 to go over those issues. And then I mentioned the BC 11, the basketball centric 11. We meet weekly and go over some issues that are unique to our group. So there's been a tremendous amount of trust and sharing and just kind of commiserating with each other that, hey, we're all in this together. We're going to find our way through, and we can share ideas and resolutions and inspire each other to get it done. Well, and from a commissioner perspective of one conference, the ASUN Conference, which I've been commissioner of, I think this is my 12th year. I've been around for almost 30 in this league, so it's hard for me to add them up. But I will tell you the most satisfying thing that this COVID challenge has brought is the ability for us to stay connected and conduct our business. We have a very simple code of ethics in the ASUN. We want people to be fair, to be honest, to be respectful, and be responsible. And to do that, we need to have a level of transparency. We need to have a level of trust between groups. And we've been very cognizant of the fact that coaches, student athletes, administrators, presidents, everybody. We've had athletic trainers calls, we've had academic support group calls, we've had compliance calls, and we continue to have them to make sure that everybody is engaged in the decision. So seeing that has been probably the most positive part of this challenge, that we are staying connected and we're learning and supporting each other. The most disappointing thing about this whole COVID, hands down, it has to be the lack of competition. We can't get out there and do what we do. Players can't play, coaches can't coach. And as an administrator, I love going to an event, whether it's a championship or a regular season contest, and I have the opportunity to see the student athletes on campus. Generally try to meet with some of the SAC delegates when I'm there. If I'm at an event, I go sit with the students in the stands for a while and say, hey, what sport are you guys playing? How many of you are on the all academic squad? Come on, you guys got to know that's important, and just get to know them a little bit. And that's the part that I really miss. We can all do our work. We can get on the computer and the phone and work, and that's what we need to do. But as far as what's missing, the competition, that's what's missing. So we're looking forward to getting back at it. So thanks for paying attention. We'll be back soon with another edition of TED Talks about.